All right, let's talk about something that's on everyone's mind: financial security. What does that actually mean? Today, we're going to build our answer by looking at it from three, well, wildly different angles. What life is like after a brutal civil war, the constant upheaval of military family life, and even a hypothetical societal collapse. Okay, let's get into it. So, we start here in post conflict Mozambique. This quote just hits you, right? It perfectly captures the pure chaos when a country has to rebuild itself from absolutely nothing. The economy we know, gone. Trust, shattered. All the rules of money have been totally rewritten. This is our first extreme. Now, for our second viewpoint, we're going to shift gears. We're going from total, unpredictable chaos to a world of constant, but kind of planned disruption. For military families, life is just this endless cycle of moving, of paychecks changing, and surprise costs popping up. It's a whole different kind of instability, but man, it puts a ton of pressure on a family's budget. And for our third perspective, we're jumping into a full-on hypothetical survival scenario. Imagine the financial system has just collapsed. Suddenly, the stuff in your garage, in your pantry, those become your only assets. And this quote, it just nails the central problem, doesn't it? What do you hold on to survive? And what can you actually afford to trade away? So, when you bring these three very different worlds together, you land on the big question for our explainer today. Whether you're dealing with post-war recovery, the realities of military life, or a doomsday scenario, how do you even define financial security, let alone achieve it? The answer is a lot more complicated than just having a certain number in your bank account. So first up, let's dig into this idea of how the very definition of a valuable asset completely changes when you're under extreme pressure. Because when the systems we all take for granted just vanish, the things we think are valuable, they're forced to change too. Let's just pose the question straight up to get our heads in the right space. Seriously, if cash and credit cards were useless tomorrow, what would you actually rely on? What do you own that has real, tangible worth? Okay, just look at the difference here. It's night and day. A military family is rightly focused on financial tools, a retirement account, a college savings plan. But in post-conflict Mozambique, value is all about production. It's livestock that can make more livestock. It's tools that can build things. And then you jump over to the survival column, and it gets even more primal. Antibiotics and water filters are literally priceless. This just shows you, crystal clear, how context completely changes what wealth even means. And this list from the survival source really drives that point home. I mean, look what's on here: alcohol, tobacco, batteries, soap. These are not your typical long-term investments, right? They're practical, they get used up, and they fill an immediate, desperate need. So here's the bottom line. In a crisis, value makes a massive shift away from the financial and straight to the functional. So if we know what has value, how do we protect it? This next part is all about building a safety net. But we're thinking bigger than just a savings account. It's more like constructing a suit of financial armor that can handle all different kinds of hits. Now, the Militaire Finance Source gives us this super practical step-by-step strategy. You start small. Get a mini emergency fund together. That's your buffer for a flat tire so you don't have to reach for a credit card. They call it a shock absorber. Then you just build from there. And the real key, the secret sauce, is making it automatic. That way you're constantly, without even thinking about it, building that buffer against all the curveballs life throws at you. But look, a pile of cash isn't the whole story. This insight from the post-conflict study is so interesting. It shows that once people feel a little safer, once that immediate threat is gone, they don't just keep hoarding cash. No, they invest in things that can produce more value, like cattle. It's a really smart move from just playing defense to building a foundation for the future. And that's really where it all comes together. A truly strong emergency plan isn't just about cash. It's a mix. You need liquid savings for those immediate shocks, absolutely. But you also need productive or practical things that hold their value and can help you rebuild. The real goal here isn't just saving, it's making your whole household less vulnerable to whatever might come next. All right, on to our third and final section. And here we're going to talk about the most overlooked asset of them all, the human one. Because in any financial system, turns out your network can be just as valuable as your net worth. So there's actually a formal name for this: social capital. But let's break it down. In simple terms, it's just the trust that exists in a community. It's what lets us make deals, or lend a neighbor some money, or rely on each other without needing a 10-page contract for everything. Think of it like the grease that makes the wheels of any economy, big or small, turn smoothly. And this example from Mozambique is such a powerful look at what happens when that social capital is just gone. Even after the war was over, the deep, deep distrust between the old factions made it almost impossible to do anything, even just distribute aid. When trust collapses, the whole economy just seizes up. It's paralyzed. And, this idea is universal. It absolutely applies to a military family trying to find a mechanic they can trust in a brand new town. It applies to two people trying to barter for supplies after a collapse. It applies to a farmer trying to get a loan. Every single financial interaction is built on a bedrock of trust. It is always the first thing to break in a crisis, and it is, by far, the hardest thing to build back. Okay, so what does all this mean for us, right here, right now? Let's boil down all the lessons from these extreme situations into a clear takeaway for building a more stable financial future for ourselves. This really gets to the heart of a crucial shift in how we think about money. A conventional financial plan, it's all about growth, about maximizing returns, and it kind of assumes everything's going to stay stable. But a resilient plan is built for shocks. It's less about squeezing out every last percentage point and way more about minimizing your vulnerability. It diversifies beyond just stocks and bonds, and it recognizes that your community, your social capital, is a critical piece of your support system. If you only remember one thing from this entire explainer, let it be this. Real financial resilience stands on three legs. You need liquid savings to ride out the storms, practical assets that have value no matter what's happening in the world, and strong community ties. That's social capital you can actually count on when things get rough. And we'll leave you with this last question to chew on. A financial plan that looks great on paper when your paycheck hits the bank every 2 weeks, that's one thing. But the real test, after everything we've looked at today, is this. Is that same plan strong enough to hold up when your world gets turned completely upside down?